What is it? What is that? Is that rum, Bacardi, Malibu? What is that? You're
Yes,
not going to tell me. I hear you. I hear you. I
Paradise
hear you.
coconut rum.
Look, we're just
That's
gonna
my
buy
sponsor.
for. Oh, okay. I
You,
like the wine coolers with those flavors in them. I'm more of the fruity guy. Yeah, I mean, not that I'm a fruit by any means, but I mean, I'm the fruity guy where I like flavors. I like flavors. So anyway, just so you know, we're going dead.
I do too.
I
Coconut
didn't do
and
any previews or nothing, but here we are. So everybody, as you come in, or if you see this
you didn't
today,
do any
tomorrow,
previews.
no, I didn't do
You're
any
saying
pre.
you
Well, go ahead. Oh, now I lost your
you're saying
voice.
you didn't do any what do you call it? Like I
Yeah,
guess sending it
preliminary.
out and like
No, I didn't. I did, but I
my
didn't.
Wi-Fi is crazy.
What you thought? What?
Nothing wrong with that. We decided on this on the fly.
Yeah, it
I said
was
we
fun. It
decided
was
on
fun.
this on
So
the fly. So
here we go. Let's fly. Let's fly. So anyway, good evening and welcome into America Disclosing Uncensored. This portion is called What's in Disguise because there's something very mysterious going to happen on April 8th. So are you preparing for it? This historical, once in a lifetime event. Some calling it the apocalyptical eclipse. I know it sounds devastating, but should we worry? Should we get prepared? Should we kneel down or look up? That's just part of a very easy intro to say, here we go with the show. But Bettina, there's so much going on with this. And I know you don't always do shows like this, but thanks for coming on to chill and hang out with me tonight. And we'll talk about some of these theories of, in ways I wonder in my mind, what would Plato or Nostradamus think about this whole narrative? What would come from him? Because we're hearing about global issues in ways, then we're hearing about a conscious arising occurring, and this is all part, what I think, in ways, is a bigger part of a time clock of the Earth's own existence at work with the rest of the planets. Although some are speculating now that the planets aren't sitting where they should between Pisces and Virgo, we won't see a full eclipse. So it's kind of mind blowing. But I think the biggest part of why we came on to BS with some people, and that's why I sent you that clip, that post I did, to where everybody was coming back with the theories, and people were saying, "Go get batteries, go get water, go get," and be prepared for it. Governors are signing executive orders. Did you hear that? National Guard has been called out for this eclipse. Schools are being shut
I,
down.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's bizarre. So, this is what we're dealing with. And if anybody comes in, wants to make comments to it, that'd be fine. I'm going to give a quick hello to Joe Fox of River Rose. Thanks for always coming in, stepping in. I didn't do any preliminary preview things for this, but so thanks, guys, except for the fact that I did put up an advertisement. Rose, I want to say something real quick. You guys in Tennessee somehow got the chemtrails to stop, but not in Pittsburgh. So I wonder, really, worldwide, if we were to take bets, um, what is the possibility of how and what will work as far as, will they just not spray that day? I mean, something to consider. What are your thoughts?
I want to talk. I think it's very interesting that you brought it up because I remember back in around 2011, 2012, when chemtrail spraying was going on all the time. And at one point in time, when all that spraying was going on, a lot of people were saying that some of that had to do with that they were trying to cover up the second sun or planet Nibiru or Hercobulus. And
Yeah.
so I don't know if that's what it was, or they were trying to like dumb people down or get people sick. I know that there's a lot of fluoride in it and a whole lot of other chemicals. Some people say that they had like the AIDS virus and several other viruses within that. Whatever it is that they're doing it for some reason. Some people were even saying that they were covering up motherships or UFOs flying through the sky. So all this goes back to the time period back when I remember when you had all these videos coming out about stuff like that's not a plane in the sky. Like you would see airplanes flying and then it would shapeshift and turn into something else. And I know it sounds weird and it sounds like conspiracy theory type of stuff, but there was a lot of stuff going on back then. And I started paying attention to these kind of things. There's things like this going on in our atmosphere right now that we were taught like in school when the sun is coming up in the sky. Um, the moon is going down and vice versa. But now you wake up in the morning, and I don't know if this is just me or am I being extra, or if this is something that I just didn't pay attention to as a child or as a teenager or in my early 20s. But now there's days when the moon doesn't go down at all. The moon and the sun are both in the same in the sky at the same time all day. So you have to wonder, people were talking about the things that was supposed to happen as far as if this planet like Nibiru came in. Some people called it Tiamat. Like I said, it was different names for this. They called it the 12th planet, I think. And that was at the time when they thought that Pluto was still a planet. But there's things that was going on with that. And it was said that when this planet supposedly came into our solar system, there was going to be a pole shift and all these different things are supposed to happen to us as far as like, I don't know, it was supposed to be like radiation happening, all kind of stuff. It was supposed to. Steve Quell talked about this real big back in the day, and several other people that were covering that at that time. But it's a lot of different things going on in our universe and our atmosphere right now that can't be explained. Michael, do you remember back during that same time period when there was videos all over YouTube about two suns in the sky?
Yes, I do. I think I have some pictures of it, but then again, it could have been something of an anomaly. It could have been something under a special project that somehow they were able to reflect a look to deceive us, to start preparing us for something. But yeah, I most certainly do. I even posted a picture within those pictures that I sent you of the clip thing that I put together for us. It's kind of like where you see one under the haze of the chemtrail and then the other one having purity, which is right off to the left. And yeah, but I do remember the facts that people were catching two, what looked to be two suns, a binary system. And, that would really worry me. I mean, that would really worry me if that were to, but I think we would, there's too many people out there who love astronomy and that are amateurs, but great amateurs. And I think if it was something like that, so close, there'd be some major vibes going off the hook on that. And that would worry me, even if that was the case. And let's just say we couldn't call the shots on how fast it's actually traveling to come in. But with that immensity coming in, swinging around the planets, that would definitely create what we probably have seen as other catastrophic events that were probably caused by 3,600 years ago to today, present, if it happened, devastating effects.
It would, and I think it's very interesting when you really look at it. It does. It's very scary when you think about it because we don't know. There's so many different things going on in our atmosphere, so many different things going on in the universe. And then you remember back when I think this was in Sri Lanka, I don't know, in the early 2000s, you remember when they were talking about the fact that when that major earthquake, I think over 200, I don't know, I can't remember, it was like 200,000 people died over there during that earthquake. And they said that the earth shifted on its axis, like I can't remember how many degrees it was, but it shifted on its axis so many different degrees. And so you look at that, you look at the times we're living in, you look at how the atmosphere is now, and I can't recall that majority of the time you go outside, you don't see like a clear blue sky like you did all the time when you was outside as a child. It's completely different now. Most days it's like cloud cover or overcast. It's all kind of stuff going on. And every now and then, if you're really looking, because I'm a stargazer and I'm a sky gazer, I will look up at the sky on a regular basis. I have a telescope in here right now, but I look at the sky on a regular basis. There's UFOs that's flying all over on a regular basis at night. Like if you just go out there and look, there's a difference between seeing that and seeing an airplane actually flying through the sky. It's completely different. You will see these lights in the sky that will actually go one direction and then stop and then turn and go in a whole other direction or go from being dim to like really bright. And what a lot of people don't realize, and I know this might sound weird, but a lot of people don't also realize that sometimes you can actually talk to the UFOs and say certain stuff or request for them to do certain things, and it will respond to your request.
Right, right. Thank you for saying that, because I know, for one, I have my own validation, but I like hearing it from other people, because I know I'm not nuts. I know what I experienced. I know what some of my friends and guests on the show have talked about. And it's true. Yeah. But the immensity of the X, Nebrew, what Stephen used to bring up, to the public to enlighten them, I think were all good factual components that we needed to get into place. I think some of it may have been speculation on many people's parts, but I think the narrative of fact, of science, it's factually true. And you're right, when it comes to the sprays, I mean, me over Pittsburgh, where I am, it's constant even at night. So I mean, why in the density of winter at -10 degrees, and they have to continue to spray? What would that be? It makes you kind of, and what's that about? Yeah, is it more about them hiding something that they don't want us to see, that they're doing something because there are crafts up there? But are they participating in a part that's actually hurting this planet? And I've been saying this lately. Keep pissing Mother Nature off, and she will have her last word.
Absolutely. I do think that there's something to it. I think that one thing that I do think that there is to it is that if you look at COVID when it came in, and I don't know, I don't want to say too much because I don't want this to be one of those shows where we get shut
I
down.
am one
But you
of
got to
those
look at,
shows.
hey, Joe Five. Well, and I am too. I done got so much stuff censoring and everything being getting ready to be taken down off YouTube, or like getting people thrown out of the chat
Yeah.
when certain things are talked about as far as cryptids. But like everything we're talking about right now, like New World Order is coming. And when New World Order gets here, then like it's already here, but they're already building it, but it's going to get worse and worse. And I do think that I don't want to say it, but I kind of want to say it, but I'm afraid to say it. But I think that COVID was brought in, and I think that was manufactured. I think that the whole thing, as far as getting people to come in and get vaccinated and stuff like that, these things that a lot of people don't realize, not just with COVID, but with medications and stuff like that today, they want you to be sick. The pharmaceutical companies, not only the pharmaceutical companies, but you got big pharma, you have like the medical industry and stuff like that, the cancer industry. They don't want, there's been different cures for cancer and AIDS and all that kind of stuff for several years. Some other countries have that, and they let their people know about it, but they don't want you to know about it because here they want you to be sick. That's $1 trillion industry or more. They don't want you to know that. What do you think? Look how many people have gotten. Now, I'm not going to say that everybody has gotten sick after they got the vaccinations, but those booster shots and how hard they were pushing it before they did any testing on it to find out anything about it. You got vaccinated, and now you got people with Guillain-Barré syndrome. You got people with neuropathy. You got people with cancer and other things that did not have to exist when the body is supposed to be a self-healing organism. Your body's supposed to be able to do that if you have the right immune system. But because we're on antibiotics today, the antibiotics we're on, people don't realize that antibiotics, they weaken the immune system. I mean, I have asthma. People don't realize, like, even with asthma, the steroid drugs and stuff like that, that weakens your immune system and it makes you more susceptible to getting other things. I don't want to say too much. I'm going to kind of let you get in there if you want to, or if you want me to keep going. I've got so many things I could speak on this, but there's a lot of things. There's videos on YouTube, and I don't know, some of these probably been taken down since like 2012, but you got videos out there talking about what on earth are they spraying? Do y'all not know that there's different things? Do you not know that in your bottled water, they put fluoride and other stuff in that? Do you think that when they're going over to some of these other countries and they're supposedly giving them vaccinations to keep them from getting AIDS, do you really think? And I don't want to get thrown off of YouTube, so I don't want to say too much, but do you really think that the government that we live in, the country that we live in, is going to actually allow them to do that? And I'm not going to say that sometimes it's not what's happening, but some of what's happening is that they're being injected with certain viruses. That's how
Right.
they're able to keep up with some of the numbers on this. Not saying people don't go to the doctor to get checked out for stuff, but sometimes you got to think about the Tuskegee experiment. That's a perfect
Well,
example
yeah,
of that.
you're right. It's a
There's a
lot to take.
patent on AIDS. There's a patent.
Oh, yeah, right. I know. I mean, everybody owns something for everything. They owned it for the cure before it came out. And when you think about this, do the math. And not that I want to stick on this, as you said, because really we'll try to enlighten people with positivity and focus, or negativity and focus, depending upon what they are thinking right now with this event, the apocalyptical event coming up. I also want to say hi to Anthony Sanchez, book author, great podcaster, UFO Highway, really great fellow. So anyway, jumping back to that, everything you said, it has prudence to it. So I guess we'll look at it this way. When we were speaking about, would the government ever tell us if there was something of a huge magnificent size of a possibility of something, would they really warn us? I mean, because we're seeing warning bells, and a lot of people were talking about April 8th and what could happen, and it's going to be a religious event, it's going to be higher consciousness, and you know what? I don't want to take higher consciousness off of the focal point either. And we can get back in a second to the other things. We can narrate around to that, but when you think about it, the world has been going to a focus point of higher consciousness and meditations anyway for many, many thousands of years. It's always been a focus point, but yet we're still here stuck in this dilemma
Mhm.
of everything we're stuck in. So, being stuck between dimensions with the possibilities of how this is all going to work out or what we're going to have to deal with. I still have to look at these things. And also, here's something else, too. I believe in 1951, we had a different type of system that came in with an eclipse, and it was called the Devil's Comet as a nickname. Other people known it as Halley's Comet, and that was in 1951. So that's like 71 years ago. And there's a good possibility that we may have a dual event occurring here. Now, I am not an expert at this, just as you aren't, but did you hear anything on the
Mhm.
possibility of the horned dragon coming back for this event?
You talking about for the eclipse that's coming up?
Yeah, exactly.
No, and no, because I actually just found out about this eclipse. I think it came over YouTube or something like that on a commercial or something like that, and I was like, "Oh wow, I actually need to go get some what do you call it? Like the eclipse glasses that you have to be able to look at the sun that day because I don't have that. But I definitely want to know more about it, and I have heard of the horned dragon. But can you tell everybody about that, and me too? Could enlighten me on it because I'm not sure,
It's a
but I have
comet.
heard about that.
It's a comet. And it makes an appearance. It seems to be in a trajectory that comes around in the planetary system as it functions. There was a song written by it about it, Halley's Comet. And it's a comet that comes in. And now, look, I'm not an expert at this, but to narrate around the things the way I do is to try to bring content up that gives a little bit of relevance. So, as I said, the last, I think, appearance it made, I believe, was in 1951. It might have been 54. Okay. I'm going to go with 54. I don't know why. So I think we're narrating around 71 years. So it comes in, when it comes in, it actually has like the victory, kind of like the horns. Some people call it the horseshoe
Mhm.
event. And it comes in with it. And I don't know, because there's not enough being said about it. But yet, if you Google the information and go on DuckDuckGo and so forth, there's a narrative saying that it's going to happen, or the possibility of it. We will see it. But again, it depends upon where we're at, how bad they're flooding the skies with chemicals. But again, if we were betting people, you and I, at a casino, would you bet that they're going to let the skies tell the planes to stand down for a day just so everybody gets a good look? Or are they going to try to cancel culture most of the United States out of the event unless you're standing right under it? So, you have those types of situations. And one of the other things, too, if this is a magnitude of some importance, that they are calling out the National Guard, closing schools, upping the police enforcement and the state police
Mhm.
troopers. Maybe everything we learned about the Georgia Guidestones were actually factual, to play a part somehow. Now, and again, that gets into another narrative of up and down, good, bad, ugly, but they disappeared July of 2022, didn't they? And then there was no real
Absolutely.
investigation. No investigation. Let's just clean the scene up. So then that happened. So I don't know. It's a pretty odd narrative, and I can understand why people were coming up with their own theories, or let's call them conspiracies.
Anthony Sanchez wanted to know if I feel like that the powers that be are withholding information from us about the potential extinction level events approaching, killer asteroids, cataclysmic magnetic pole shifts, solar flares like Carrington event.
ELEs and CLEs.
Yes, I do.
I do too. Yes,
Absolutely.
Anthony, without a doubt. Why do you think I said let's do a show? But talk about these things. And this is a real brilliant man here. No joke. He knows his stuff. He does his homework. He writes the books. I got a pile of tablets that big that I need to sit down and make peace with one day and start figuring out how to conduct myself to do that kind of thing. But to me, in a way, this is my book. Just like you have a book. This is our book. We're telling our life, talking about our lives every day. But yeah, I'm on board with him and on board with you. No, they would never tell us, especially not now. And I don't know, even in the future, if we get a cushion in 2024, that it won't spring right back in 2028. A completion,
well, you got to look at the fact of all the things that they don't want you to know already. They don't want to let you know. They haven't come public and let you know that Bigfoot and Dogman or any of that stuff, cryptids are real. They haven't come out with that for whatever their reason is behind it, and I have my theories on that. But the things that they don't want you to know, they look at it like you're on a need-to-know basis. And if it's gonna, go against their status quo or whatever type of propaganda or whatever type of agenda that they're putting out there, then they're not going to let that out. They've already control all of the media companies, the news networks and stuff like that. They're already bought and owned, and they have a script that they have to follow. And if y'all haven't saw a lot of these videos on YouTube that came out way back in 2011, 2012, even up to this day, like there's videos out there that you'll see where different news stations all across the United States, like their script is exactly the same, like the exact wording or whatever that they're talking about.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about? So when it comes down to that,
busted them at the wheel. We really have. We busted them at the wheel. Look at 9/11 when they were over across the water, telling the world that Building 7 fell and it still was standing. So, I mean, we see their mistakes. We see their arrogance. We seen Bush in the school and the little children below him saying, plane, building, fall. I mean, you can't make this shit up. So, in many ways, they come out, they just spill it to us. They really do. They spill it to us. And they got, again, trying to be respectful to people. They got balls this big and they don't care. And I don't think they ever cared, because if they did, we would have had a better outcome from 2016 to 2020. And there was not any easement within that pattern of what we had going on. So, yeah, I think it all implies facts. It all implies something. Georgia Guidestones falling. Why is everybody building bunkers? And here's one of the biggest things out there. Anthony, if you're listening, pay close. You might know about this, but please pay attention to this. This is something that I found out years ago. And we had some senators in some states that were representatives. They were trying to buy destroyers to put in areas of dried lands to prepare them for preparations for the future, but never would give it an exact reason why. So every time it came up for a vote for it to pass, to make a purchase, to revamp it, and et cetera, and place it somewhere where they felt it was necessary to put them, because like they had the need to know information in their pocket, it never passed the bill to be purchased. But these were the types of things going on. And again, like I said, why bunkers being built? Why such? And then here we get into another whole narrative outside of what the meaning behind this is. You have people missing all over the world. I call, David Plays, great guy, 411. I do abductions 911. Why do I call mine abductions? It's because they're all involved in some way. But who's all involved is you can narrate through the agenda of everything we talk about, whether it's cattle mutilations or ufology, the good, the bad of the UFOs and the alien groups that we have out there that are visiting us. And then you have
Mhm.
possibly our own government. And why would that be so important? Well, if you look at the immensity under the earth. And if you go into New York, under every building that means anything, there are sub basements bigger than the cities. And these things exist. Well, what would you need to put these in place and function? People. And then we talk about
Exactly.
off-world planetary, Mars, I mean, there's many things out there that people know about that don't talk about, but some do. It's just bizarrely huge. Go ahead,
My
hon. I don't
question
want to eat it up.
my question on that is like I'm a person like and I'm not maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist and maybe I'm like kind of over the top with conspiracy theorist stuff, but I mean if they tell you that we're not supposed to be able to go beyond what is the Van Allen radiation belt, then how did they ever go to the moon? How did they
Yeah.
ever go to the moon? And why haven't they been back? And I know other countries say that they've gone back, but then like it's, it's CGI out there now, and I know that they didn't have it at that time period. Maybe they did because they always say that whatever information that we get that's put out there, their technology is way 10, 20, 30 years beyond what we already have now. There's videos, there's pictures and stuff out there where they had cell phones back like I don't know, like the early 1900s. There's pictures and stuff of that. It's so
Yeah.
many different things. People don't understand, like, we live in a matrix right now. People don't realize, like, what do you think about if you just look at it, the Philadelphia experiment? That's something do you believe that that actually happened? Because I'm going somewhere with this. Do you feel like that was something that actually happened? And if so, then I've got somewhere else I want to go with this conversation as far as what the type of things that's happening in our reality right now today.
Well, first off, I'll say they all blend. Everything does, from seedless fruit to trees dying to everything. But yes, and I'll say that because I, in fact, had a great conversation with somebody about 9 years ago. He did some coast to coast work and appearances on there, and I was able to contact him, and we became friends. And I found out a great deal more. And then as I grew from that information, I found other information. And I would say most certainly they were playing with everything when you talk about the Philadelphia project, without a doubt. So go ahead, take me where you want to
Mhm.
take me.
So, with that being said, just that whole reality, if that's true, if that actually happened, and right now knowing that Bigfoot and Dogman exist, I've never seen Bigfoot, but I believe in them. I know that they exist, but I'm a person who's witnessed have had a Dogman sighting and other things too. So there's a lot of things out there that people don't realize. But what I wanted to go with that is that if it was as they say with the Philadelphia experiment, there were people who I don't know if you call it, I don't think teleport is the right word, but like there were people whose limbs, like one arm was like stuck inside of the ship. There was different limbs or whatever that was in there. I'm gonna have to look up more on that. But if you can talk about that, I'll let you talk about that. But there were some strange things that was going on with that. I've heard we were able to even teleport and have been able to teleport for years.
Yeah, you're talking about the El Buick series story, but there were other people, military there, that I was able to talk to and say that Al wasn't, and that was really not his real name, but most people identify him on YouTube as the Al Buick story and his brother. Not quite the way people's there were incidents, but I was only to be able to find out where one person suffered consequence, but not the way it initially came out, saying people's bodies were buried halfway and between the floors and things of that narrative. So I would just say that, but I know that there were things that went on, and there had to be retestings and the corrections and so forth to get it into a process of progress that went in after it left the Philadelphia experiment. And then there's the whole thing about the Elridge and Martha's Vineyard. So there's a couple ships involved here also. So there's more than one ship involved where the testings were being done. and the energy systems that they created and who was there conducting the energy systems for them to operate and function. It's really huge. And if you ever want to do a sit down show on it, I can take you down a narrative of two ships, several different stories, and then we can leave it up to the people to research to find out, any other facts
Yeah.
that they need to be able to conclude themselves what the answer may truly be. And I think that's the best way we can do it is give what we know from our heart, explain it the way we feel it, and then let them go on their own mission of research, because
Mhm.
research is what put you and me here together. It's what found us.
While we're talking, I'm going to share this in a few groups that I really want to come join us over here, because I really feel like that we're having a really interesting and a very important discussion that a lot of people need to hear. Because for me, I feel like that there's other things out there that's more important. And I'm not going to say like that I don't find it important as far as cryptids are concerned, but I do realize that we're living in a world right now that if we get caught up, even though we've had these encounters and we find interest in talking about those subjects, there's way more out there to be concerned about. The world that we're living in is changing right now, and it's changing rapidly. What they're being taught in schools, what's being taken out from the things we learned back in 20, 30 years ago, it's completely different.
Right.
The behavior, the mannerisms, I feel like a lot of the kids, the youth today is like walking around. I call them the walking dead. They're walking around like zombies. Everything has completely changed. Now, as far as everything we're going through, I think that I heard somebody say that we're going through something as far as a shift in the matrix, or what do you call it? Our not our atmosphere, magnetosphere. The
Yeah.
veil is being lifted right now. When I say that, I mean that there's things that are coming up on this earth right now, and I don't mean to come from a biblical standpoint, but I am a Christian. And so, whether you're Christian or not, there's things that's coming on this earth, whether you believe in God, whether you believe in Buddha, however you believe, there's things that's happening right now, things that are being shown to us. We're starting to see cryptids, we're starting to see aliens, UFOs, abductions, and stuff like that have been happening for years. Whether that is something to do with, what do they say? Well, like Eisenhower had a, what do you call it? Like he had a pact with these alien entities that were coming here in order to be able to come in and abduct a certain number amount of people. Phil Schneider talked about that on YouTube years ago before he was assassinated. They say he had cancer, but it just came on all of a sudden. Truthers, or people who come out and share a lot of information, whistleblowers, as you call us, or other people who are more in depth in this, they end up getting unalived unalived really quick. A lot of people don't
Yeah.
realize that when 9/11 happened, a lot of those witnesses, whether they were police officers or anybody on the streets or whatever, that came out reporting different things, some of them reporting what happened, some of them reporting different things that happened during 9/11. And some people were going along with the narrative, and some people were saying other things. Some people said it was a plane. And I'm not saying this to get anybody upset or anything like that. This is just food for thought. There were things that were being said, that things that were being put out there. Some people said before the planes ever hit that there were explosions going off in those buildings at that time before this happened. And then you get into digging really deep into it, and then you have all these scientists that come in, that deal with aircraft and stuff like that, and how much heat it takes to break down reinforced steel. And it would have been way greater than that for a building to fall down at free fall speed. And what hit the third building came down and nothing hit it at all.
Well, they
Nothing hit it
minutes after the
at all.
Pentagon hit, there was news media there and said they couldn't find any pieces of anything. So yeah, you're right, but they could have had thermite at the
Mhm.
in the front of the aircraft. We don't know. I actually believe that they were remote controlled in, but that's my fact of thought. Where are these people? I mean, who knows? Where are the pilots that were piloting these planes? Well, a lot of news information come out on that saying they're still alive and well, that they were never in these planes flying them. That came from other leaderships of country who came to the United States and testified here. And I have a video of the testimony. So now it even gets bigger, like when you talk about some of the other things, if I can reflect for a minute, because you bring up a lot of things quickly. But you, there was something else you brought up. Remind me what you were saying there, if you can think of it prior to the 9/11 thing. Oh, I think you were talking about the Grady treaty between Eisenhower walked into a trap.
Mhm.
Here's what I think happened. I just had Brad Olson on with me. Brad Olson's a
Mhm.
personal friend of Ike Eisenhower's granddaughter, and he published Mrs. Eisenhower's book, her latest book. So they are pretty good friends. They talk. Her book explains a lot of this. And she'd be a perfect guest. I actually have a message out to her. But I had Brad on, and Brad has 19 books out. He's a publisher. He's a rock star. He's being nominated for the one of the highest awards you can get for, you know, doing TV shows and some products of TV shows and so forth as a speaker. And I just was actually just before the show was dictating a few texts with him back and forth. So they were called the honeyboos, some say. And maybe, just maybe, with the several meetings that took place, he was meeting with the Germans. And they were
Mhm.
showing the force of what they wanted and what they wanted from the United States. Otherwise, they would show their full force of power. Now, then it would come down to the thing of like some of the things. Anthony, who's in the group chat right now, that talks about some of the things. Yes, exactly. Laura Eisenhower. He knows exactly where I'm going here. So you're on the right page, but you're not getting the whole puzzle completed for yourself. But you will. You will. I know you will. And I'll help you walk through that if you'd like to at some time. And I'm still learning some of that process. But I also have some great videos of Laura describing all this. And she was just on with Dr. Michael Salas, and it was a mind blowing revelation testimony of what she knew and what she could offer. And I know that Anthony can back me up on that. So, anyway, as we speak about these things and we understand these things, trying to put the pieces together are now coming out more, I think, more strongly now, because what they didn't count on was the fact that the sophistication of the technology, even though I hate AI and a lot of the technology, I truly do. I fear
Mhm.
the I fear the boss of the computer, the Alice in Wonderland, the Oz effect, and all that,
Yeah.
because we will be controlled by a machine, not by somebody else. Just the same as we are now. We get dictated for community standards because a machine says we violated community standards. And until we can get beyond those faculties, we're always going to have to deal with things like that and suffer the consequences of them. So we got to like watch our verbiage and all that type of thing. But you bring up a lot of good factors that I would like to sit and have an off screen conversation with you and give you some valid information and point your fingers to who the important souls are right now who are out there fighting for what exactly you're talking about, because you have it all, just need to have some steps put better in place for so you stand solid. And I'll put you right in touch with the ones who know, and that way to
Absolutely.
help you out, at least give you the information for them. But yeah, so it still comes down to when what we're talking about here, the narrative of deceit. And if you can take advantage of a tragedy, that's the best time that seems to ever to do it, right? And that's what they do. Let's make the
Absolutely.
most out of it. And they create them. And I always say the focus point is when you deal with people like this, these despicables, and we have them everywhere, implants all around the world, bloodlines, families that they are. You're going to have to deal with consequences of how they can deliver, because their power is so much stronger than what we ourselves on this side are able to take care of. And remember, the older men and the smarter men will always start the war, but the younger men will always have to fight them for. And that's what we are, younger men and women fighting to get ahead in the objective, finding out the truth, finding out why they're blowing up the internet. And a lot of people are catching on to it now. Also, when they're talking about this is all upcoming on the 8th of religious, meaning they're going to be lighting up CERN. They're going to have there's possibility no cell services will be working. No fly zones will be announced. And of course, they'll pressure through the issues. And I think it's a matter of importance for me to bring those little narratives back up, because it correlates right within everything you're talking about. The power and the structure of the criminal backgrounds of the deep state, and it's exactly what it is.
And it's really deep. And it's not just about big pharma. It's not just about the news or the media. It's not just about some other things that I want to leave unnamed. But there's a lot of
Mm.
things that are changing, and you are being groomed. We're being groomed to accept some things. It's being put in gradually. And so whatever they don't want you to know, there's a cover up. All of a sudden now, I guess, like in the last year or so, now they're finally coming out and saying, yes, UFOs are real. They actually exist. And we've known this for hundreds of years. The ancient people knew this. They had cave drawings and cave paintings and carvings and statues and all that kind of stuff of all these different things thousands of years ago, even. So, like I said, I'm a Christian. This says there's nothing new under the sun. So you have the history repeating itself right now. So
Mm-hmm.
what we do with that information, I don't know what we can do with it other than prepare. Is it time for us to start getting bunkers? Is it time for us to start collecting food and having safe things to have in order if something does go down? Are we going to be prepared? You were talking about the bunkers before, and all these people who are now like starting to get bunkers, because it's not just Zuckerberg, but isn't I've heard of there's a lot of celebrities right now. What is it that they know that we don't know? Is it this whole secret society stuff when it comes to Illuminati and those who are in the know, who have this information, but they're not sharing it
Right.
with the public?
Ask the billionaire and you'll get your questions answered.
I'd like to know that because, like, I don't know how you feel about that kind of stuff, but what at the
Yeah.
end, what is the end game? What is the end goal with this? There's a lot of
Yeah.
private prisons that people don't even realize. We talk about Guantanamo, but I can't remember right now, but there is several hundred private prisons right now in the United States. A lot of people don't know about the NDAA, what is it, North American, I forgot, Defense Act or something like that, NDAA, something like that. Um, North American Defense Authorization Act that was signed December 24th or 25th, 2012, or whatever, when Obama came in
Obama.
office.
Yeah, that
And
had to
when that
that had to do with your privacy and securities. That was yeah,
it
I get
did,
where yeah, I get where you're coming from. It was snuck into the provisions.
it was snuck in the provisions overnight. Nobody really knew about it until after it was already signed. But when that happened, one of the things that was on it that you could be labeled a terrorist for looking at certain, going on certain or searching certain websites so many times to a point to where they will put you on a terrorist list. Being an outspoken religious group or a black identity extremist, so many other different levels. If you're missing certain digits off your hand, having more than 7 days worth of food in your house, you can be labeled a terrorist, and they can take you away to one of these prisons or whatever, these private prisons that they have that they don't want the public to know about. They can take you to those without giving you the ability to what is it, like Miranda Act? What is that, like, where you have the ability to reach out to a lawyer or to reach out to your
Right.
family? They don't have to tell
Yeah,
anybody
they read you
where
your rights.
it's.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they don't have to read your rights. They can come in at any point. People don't realize that on your cell phones, like right now, you have to be careful what you say on your cell phones, because even if you've got your phone powered off, they can still hear your conversation. They can cut your phone on. They can do anything. Do you not realize that there's in your television and stuff like that, recording devices? They can see you at all times. Don't think that you're living in a world where, oh yeah, we got all this great technology and now that we're living better than we did before. Yeah, this technology is great, but at the same time, you are also being tracked and monitored through this
It was
technology
all
as
set up.
well. There's been
It
several
was
times
all
I've
a
had
setup.
conversations with people about.
Yeah. It was all set up. I
Absolutely.
mean,
Because
look,
like I was saying,
well,
there's been several times
we
I've had
fall
conversations
in love
with
with that
people about
though.
things.
We fall in love with it, hon. I
No,
mean, we
yeah,
have.
like
What
I
do you
agree
mean?
with you.
We're guilty of it. We were people. So, like a lot of people say, I wasn't conditioned. Oh, yes, you are. If you have anything, anyway, we really were conditioned. We weren't paying enough attention, even when we were finding out some information, because so many people said, that's the cognitive dissonance. It's just so big, it can't be real. I'll believe the lie, and that many people did. And like them saying, when North Star was put into cars, it was already had the ability to kill your car. They're not going to put a component in it now that's going to make it shut off if you violate and go out of the airspace of where you're allowed to travel in your safe city once they shut it down, and you
Mm-mm.
become one of these 15-minute sanctuary cities in the state. No, you'll be shut off, and it's already been put in place. And if you don't believe me, try opening your car. Think back when you needed North Star and what it was able to do. It could open your car, it could start your car. I mean, if it can start your car, it can shut your car. It's the same as if you go skiing and you go to a ski resort and they tell you, oh, these planes can't make ice or snow or rain happen. Go to a ski resort. They're making snow there. You think they can't do it? The same process can be
Absolutely.
taken and elevated into the skies, as well as they have things on, they have ships on the ocean. That's all they do is pump into the air. So this is a constant blend of where we are, what we do, and then they have, of course, why did they want you to have all electric, and why do they want you to have all electric cars? Because they see a process of failure to come into the future. They're not going to do the Stephen Greer thing, and we're going to automatically figure out how to put free technology in our home where we pull air from dark matter out of the air. It would be beautiful if we could, and some people are figuring out better ways and how to do it and how to make cars run on water and how far back electric goes. Look, the Vanderbilts actually in New York City owned a train depot station. Below it, 130 feet below it, they had an 80,000 square foot generator system and more. We'll just say and more because it was highly classified. If you got anywhere near that system, figured out how to get down to that level, you were ordered to kill them people dead. They were never to speak of it, never to get out. And these are systems of what they do all over the world where these places exist. And that's just how strong they are. So when it comes to electricity and what was running the railroads back then, it wasn't all about diesel engine. It was electrical modified engines and trains. So now they're coming out, we're going to do trains with it's nothing new. As you said, it's history repeating itself. The things have been here. And then if you look into Tartania, what's that all about? And what we think it's about or what we think we learned from it. It's mind-blowing. But it doesn't matter how far you go back. It's been a problem through history where one has to be on one side stronger than the other. And it doesn't really ever matter about case scenario of Keller. They devised that into coming into the early 19th century, taking out Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy. These were just subjects of matter that needed removal because their voices became too strong. And we've seen it happen. I think you mentioned yourself, the mysteries of suicide and how these things work. That's why I'm telling you, they would never tell us if something catastrophic was going to happen. They expect people to go out there. Maybe they're hoping mass numbers go there and an event does occur. But we'll make it look good. We'll try to say we did everything we could for them.
It's much deeper than people even realize, down to human trafficking and stuff like that. Some
Yeah.
information came out, some people who were telling information that came out about people, different hotels or whatever in different states. And I don't know if this is worldwide or even in missing people in national parks. But I can speak on the hotels. Like as far as the hotels are concerned, some information that came out a few years ago about the fact that certain people who were working at those hotels were actually not only involved with people coming up missing or being human trafficked, but there was also information that was also coming out as far as organ harvesting. And I think a lot of these things are happening a whole lot more than what we know. There's so many nefarious things that are happening. You know how they say truth is stranger than fiction. Nobody is going to believe it when the information comes out on a lot of the stuff like this. Nobody's going to believe that your government is going to basically put you in a place to where you can't even grow your own food or your own gardens. In certain states, it's illegal. It's illegal to collect rainwater. It's illegal to do all these different things. Why? I remember as a child, we had pecan trees and peach trees and plum trees out in the yard. Or, you were able to go out and fish for your food and stuff like that. People had their own land, but nowadays they don't want you to have that. People are sick now with diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and all this other stuff. And I remember coming up, it was never like this coming up. Grandma and them cooked with lard back in the day, and they were much healthier than we are today. There's so many kids nowadays, like right now with like autism and stuff like that. And it's because some of this has got to do with vaccinations. And then when you look at the food, what are they doing with the food? Some people who right now are vegetarians and vegans, well, you're really not, because of what they don't realize. Some of them probably do and some of them don't. It depends on how woke you are and how much research you're doing. Now they're also putting animal DNA or animal parts or animal products in the vegetables. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of stuff going on with that. And they're also putting a lot of other stuff. I'm a smoker and I'm trying to quit, and I know I need to quit. I'm pre-diabetic. I got high blood pressure. But even with high blood pressure, the numbers have changed. It's not 120 over 80 anymore. 120 over 80 used to be the norm. And I'm telling y'all all this for a reason. And it's not just because I'm trying to go off topic, but I'm letting y'all know that there's a lot of important stuff that you don't have to know, that you don't know, that you don't realize it's changing behind the scenes. If 120 over 80 was the norm before, and now it's dropped down to 115 over like 70, then do you realize that all that does is that now that puts you as if you're at 120 over 80 and above that, now you have high blood pressure, when a few years ago that wasn't it. Do you know what that means? That means that now you got more people that you can write more prescriptions for. That's more people that's now diagnosed with high blood pressure. And now the pharmaceutical companies are going to make more money before that. Your high blood pressure and your low blood pressure, those numbers have changed 3, 4, 5, 6 different times, and it keeps changing. They need to keep that going. There are cures for AIDS, there are cures for cancer. They've been cured before. And anytime, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, Michael, but there is a patent on AIDS. There's a patent on cancer, and there's a patent on COVID. And from what I thought and what I knew, when there's a patent on something, that's something that was created.
Yeah, I
Am
think
I
Will
right?
Smith brought that up. Will Smith was one of the first ones to actually speak a little bit about it, and then it woke the world up, and then we found out how deep it was. And actually, I don't know if you know this, there was a plane headed to a convention, and they never made it there. It was all about discussing exactly what you brought up in AIDS and so forth. And they never found the bodies, by the way. So it's a scenario of you know what benefits who and how far they'll go for the benefit to keep coming. Same with the electric and power. It doesn't matter the narrative. It's to keep the global corporations stronger. And that's like Vanguard, BlackRock, people like that, as an example. Two of my most hated favorites. But truthfully, they control the world. They handle more money than anything else on this planet. And I will say this: there are people richer than that out there. When they give you the name and they tell you that the 10 richest people in America or in the United States or in the world are, no, that's what they want you to see on the paperwork. There's people
Yes.
way above them. There's people way, way above them, but their names, the smart names, never get mentioned. Although, we are coming up, more people are talking about who they are, who we should fear, what they stand for, and who's doing what. We see a lot of good things happening. The point is, I think at some point of this conversation, you were talking about where's it going to go? What's going to be the end? Well, there won't be an end. It's going to be a totalitarian style dictatorship of authoritarianism, taking us into an element of slavery and conduct and behavior systems. That is going to be a future for our children because a lot of enough people stood up, or there's too many silent. I'm not saying they're being silent for a bad reason, but if you think one man's going to fix this for 4 years, you're out of your minds. It's that far of a disaster, and it's going to be so difficult. We can never fix this alone in our lifetimes, nor are we ever going to be able to correct the tax problems or the 34 point some trillion dollars and more getting ready to go be funded out the door again. And now we're going to have more college educational loans. Why? To buy votes. We're going to give guns in Texas. We're going to give guns to illegals in Texas that don't need a permit for them to carry, could go in and buy a gun. Yet the citizen who lives in Texas, who is an abiding tax-paying citizen, can go down, apply, wait months and months and months, and still could be rejected for one.
Absolutely. And the system, it's always been messed up. There's so many different things. Like Marlene Reed was saying a few minutes ago that she said, after much research, I got myself off of 6 pharmaceuticals, diagnosed with heart failure in 2018, and had a stroke in 2019. And Marlene, what I wanted to say to you on that is the very reason I haven't had a heart attack or a stroke, but I'm high risk for it because I'm a smoker and pre-diabetic. And every now and then I'll have a little alcohol if I want to have a drink. But on top of all that, all these, but on top of all that, what I want to say is that some of the medications that they put us on, some of those medications are actually causing us to be sicker. I was on Lipitor for high cholesterol. One of the, and let me tell y'all this real quick, and I'm gonna change the subject, but high cholesterol. I have got to say this because what people don't realize, if I'm pre-diabetic,
Right.
then why, Chanel, settle down. If I'm pre-diabetic, why would I want to take Lipitor when one of the side effects on there it says that it can cause diabetes, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, mitochondrial cell mutations. Mitochondrial cell mutations, that's telling you right there, it can change your DNA. It can
DNA.
cause changes where you can start getting cancer because of it. So if it's telling me all that, it tell you if you start having muscle pain and nerve weakness, tell your doctor immediately. That's called rhabdomyolysis. That's neuropathy. That pins and needles feelings you start to feel when you're like, you feel like you hit your elbow up against the wall, and it feels like pins and needles. That tingly feeling like your arm is going on when you fall asleep on your arms at night. So when I got off Lipitor, I was like, I'm definitely not going to do this because like it was causing me so much pain. It took everything I had just to even raise my arm up in the air. So these medications, a lot of the stuff we're on right now, people are on 5, 6, 7 different medications right now. Those medications are causing a lot of problems. And so when it comes to that, and the pharmaceutical companies and the drug reps and some of the doctors, not all the drug reps, but a lot of the doctors and some of these other people who are on the deep higher end of this that are involved with it, they already know and understand this, but they're the doctors who are prescribing these medications and the pharmaceutical reps, they're getting kickbacks off of it. So they're not going to stop. During COVID, when COVID was going on, people don't realize that people were getting diagnosed with COVID related deaths that yeah, they had COVID, but they died from a gunshot wound to the head, or they died in a car accident. But since they had COVID, when they died, it was classified as COVID, and the hospitals and doctors were getting kickback and paid for that.
Yeah, and they were as well given $7,500 per family. So families were like, "Well, that's going to pay for the funeral. Let's just sign the paper." I don't know that it's ever going to get them anywhere, as history proves them all wrong and all lies. But here's one thing you got to remember: whether it's legal or whether we're talking medicine, doctors, it's called practicing law. It's called practicing medicine. Therefore, they're never hold to the top of the accountability chain. Yes, that is why. Look at that cutie little thing. What's our name?
Chanel. Look, Chanel.
Chanel. Okay. Hi, Chanel. Cute little dog. No, so always remember, part of what they do, part of what they claim is practicing. That's why they don't have to really win a case for you. They could say we did all we could do. We went as far as you should go. Don't spend any more money. So, that's a scenario of how it works. It just is. I don't know. It's bizarre. It's bizarre.
I do want to talk to you. You were talking about the upcoming the eclipse is coming up on April the 8th.
Yeah,
what are your
eclipse? Yeah.
Yes. What do you think about that?
Well, what I think about it is there's a lot of BS flying around, but I think a lot of people have good intentions and thought because they want to be safe. This whole fear factor is the placement of how they utilize things against us. And they're seeing that wide variety of everything. And it's not the best thing. So people do need to think for themselves and try to understand the big questions of the possibilities. That's why I said, it'd be so great if we could have some of these old 200-year-old names that I mentioned, Plato and Nostradamus and stuff. What would they be thinking about all this right now? Scientifically, I don't know even if the planets are going to line up the way they say they are going to. I don't know. I don't study it, but I know when I do hear other people talk, there are some people bringing up some valid questions about the possibility that it won't even reflect to be an entirety of a full eclipse. Maybe it won't be. And as you said earlier in the conversation, that you're seeing things in strange places. Why is this way? And you know what? I'm the same way. I've been seeing them too. I'm seeing certain things that do not look like the typical same. And I do think when we look at the facts that I bring up over and over to people, when we did the ice core drillings and all those things, we are simply just seeing a reflection of what history has done on this planet. And we are able to match these core drillings up to what we are seeing now. That it is repetitious, these things do happen, but we do also know that there has been some very bad scenarios of catastrophic events are happening. Do I think we're going to suffer through some ELE, extinction level event? No. Could it be problematic in some areas? Could it affect the electromagnetism in the atmospheres or the ether, the energy?
Mm-hmm.
It's very possible that that could happen without a doubt, but I'm not going to say that I can truly say that that will be the case. But I do say stay aware for everybody. Buy the candles, buy the batteries, put a little extra gas in your car. If you live directly in the areas that they are reflecting to that are going to have impact, where the governor signed orders, where no fly zones may be presented and placed, meaning keeping planes out of the skies, then you may want to start actually questioning. If it goes to another level in the next couple days, then you might want to say to yourself, it's time that I make a move for myself just to be safe. Of course, none of us own bunkers.
Absolutely.
Well, maybe someone's lucky enough to have an old root cellar they made into a bunker. Maybe you want to go sit in it and take a radio down and listen to it till it's over. I think the longest point of value that it's going to have is like 4 minutes and some seconds. But within that, if it had some potential of power that we are unaware of that could happen, or they know and they can acknowledge scientifically because they have mathematics that they can use that can't correlate and tell them things. And if they know it and they're not telling us, shame on those people, because, shame on them for everything they've done, because they've done everything to us regardless. And they're taking us to the point of that same scenario. So with that being said, I mean, think about what you can do for yourself to make the difference. And if you're thinking this is going to be just for higher consciousness, well, then I say to you, we've been practicing. The monks been doing it. It's meditations and all these things have been practiced. But again, I'm not an expert at them. And I think what that does is heals one's own properties of their soul and mind. It doesn't mean that it's going to cure the outside ether physical effects of what this planet holds and what the matrix of the system is that's in place, because to me, that's the unified matter. And if something screws with unified matter, the matter that creates everything, that keeps everything in its place in existence, it keeps it recycling and reproducing, the same as you and I get together. We have drinks, we decide we're going to reproduce, we can. Well, when you start removing the seeds from the man, I can't go with you to make that. You're going to have to look for the next guy who maybe can. Same with the watermelon. When they don't come with seeds anymore, you can't take the seeds out. You can't utilize them. My grandma used to dry them out, get them ready for planting. These are the objectives that and why I fear everything. So when we look at the big picture, it's what we can do to come to the best conclusions that we can. And one of the other things I want to bring up is if we are somehow stuck in a phase, and we very well could be, because we are experiencing so many different elements of so many different things, seeing more paranormal things and unknowns, we could be caught between some type of dimensional lifting that is going on. And that is why we're starting to see the electromagnetisms change. And then we see dead spots. And when we see the dead spots within these, the atoms and the proteins and the neutrons and all these different things, you see an appearance of something. And that could be what it is, that type of subject matter. I don't know 100%, but I would bet my life on a lot of what I just said.
Anthony Sanchez said Monsanto killed all the seeds.
Well, yeah, I don't disagree with him. But I do actually think, from what I understood, that Gates had his hands into certain objectives of it, the same as he does with the bugs and releasing them, carrying of possibilities of different things. And then you got Facebook. That's another narrative of a system that's so corrupt, it's pathetic. Got away with giving away murder amounts of money away to the other side, when it came to an election, and then giving money for 100 million, I think, doses and I don't know if I'm actually right, to animals in zoos, to hunters and programs in the game and fish, going out, tagging and bagging and vaccinating our deer, our beer, and everything that, to infest us with this transhumanism virus system that they want us to become of an ANI property of technology. And that's one of the other reasons I fear it, And one day we won't have police. We'll have robotic everything. And if you mess with them, they won't know how to judge you. They will just judge you as a threat and you will be dead. So, I mean, we have a lot in this future that is bad. But I also think that a lot of this technology goes off planet that was shared to us. I really believe that. There are some stories out there and some book writers out there that have been fascinating on many good shows. I just did a show on UPRN where I talked about subject matter of the possibility of all the facts that Anonymous brought forth from the Red Book. Now, Anthony's probably the only one in here that's going to understand what that is. And one of the other things I want to say, too, that I think Brad Olson brought up today, I think it was Brad. It may not have been. I might have my names confused, but somebody brought it up where, they could push the button on the holographic box where we may actually see holographics of things in the skies when this occurs, just to implant the thought of they are coming, something's near us, there's other things with us, and it's going to be part of a disclosure, even though it's going to be a false narrative, lie of deception, by them pushing a button because they have technologies that are available that they could use, and I know that they tested them.
I wanted real quick. River Rose said they're saying to have food, water, meds, batteries, flashlights, candles, pet foods for 2 weeks, an alternative way to reach family. If full tank of gas, schools are closed. I know Tennessee schools are closed. River Rose, do you live in Tennessee? And the second thing that River Rose said, she said they say the elephants in Africa are seeking higher ground and very anxious, and that's happening right now. And I wasn't aware of any of this. That's scary.
Yeah.
What's going on?
What else too? Watch the bugs. Watch the birds. Watch the bugs. They go with the electromagnet. That's all within the species of them. When you see them coming out, spring's actually happening. When you see them disturbed somehow before they should ever be disturbed or coming out, then there's significant problems. And I will say this to you. In Pittsburgh, it's been up and down roller coaster. And it's not that I don't see something here and there, but I've been seeing a lot of this type of activity, and I just will call it high strangeness.
It's very strange, but it's scary too. The even believer think that we live in a world where all these things are being done to us, and we have no idea. And a lot of people are so willing to believe everything that the media and the news and the powers that be. They believe it blindly. River Rose, you live in East Tennessee. How close are you to Alabama? I don't know if basically Fayetteville, Tennessee is like right over the line for me. That's about 45 minutes. But one of the things you said also was the fact that what was it that the elephants are headed for higher ground, and they did the same thing back in, I think it may have been 2005, 2006, when that major earthquake happened over there in Sri Lanka. The elephants started headed for higher ground. They made a movie about that. But I thought it was really interesting, the birds and stuff like that. Several years ago, almost say probably about 10 to 12 years ago, when you had the birds and stuff like that falling out of the sky. And not only that, there was also things going on as well with, what was it? There was things also going on with
the Matrix, like accidents and hitting things that weren't there. And could that have been CGI early, just them preparing our minds? Possibly, but things were happening.
And then there's videos that come out, and I don't know, some of this stuff, I don't know what to make of it, but there's things coming out now on videos where they're talking about birds like in suspended animation, or planes in suspended animation, just in the sky, just hovering, just sitting there, like just, I don't know, I guess like levitating for the most part, not moving at all. And that's strange to me. I don't know what to make of it. Our world is not what we've been told. I'll put it like that.
No, history's not. That's why I've been dealing with a lot. Like I got a really important announcement too. I have Maria Wheatley coming on with me, expert dowser, someone who goes out historical, looks at like Chaco Canyon places. she's a product of TV and knowledge and teaching, and she's going to be on with me in May. I just had Dennis Stone on. I'm talking to Scott Walters right now. I'm trying to get everybody, because it's the important facts are when we go back to the past and unfold and uncover the dirt of the cataclysms that have occurred, and everything of the functions and how they did and why they did, and why people built over them, and who the people really were, who were the earliest. They weren't the indigenous. It's like a lot of people don't even know it. There's a place in Tennessee where we have actual proof that the Egyptians were there. We have places in the Grand Canyons that are significant. There are things that we talk about, just like when we talk about the giants, and you're going to have an awesome guest on, Elmore Dory, and you're going to be talking about the Kandahar giant. I want to talk to you about the Kandahar witches. Do you know who the Kandahar witches are?
I never heard of that.
They're the villagers of Kandahar. And they had to deal with these people, this race of species. And they used to put the dots on the forehead, which signified safety for them. A lot of people didn't realize why they were doing the little circle over the pineal gland. But what they would do, just to give you a little oomph, so you can do a little research when you go on with LA. And by the way, I tell them, if you get into the conversation prior to it, not on the show, just tell him I hope that his house is finished and everything went well. But these ladies,
I sure will.
They practice witchery, but in a good witchery. They want blessings. They look for the positive energies and things like that. They knew they were dealing with this species of the giants. So they would take offerings and leave them there. And every now and then, a family would either give a goat, a pig, something, take it, tie it there, walk away, and it would always be taken and gone. And it's been said that they would see sometimes see the giants active at night, and they would come, take the goat, you would hear it crying, and they would run off with the animal. And I guess that was part of how they kept their peace in the village with the giants. So, it's just something you might want to look into.
I heard that. He did an update interview with a guy that lived out there, and I did hear that, because they were taking them out there to appease the giants, I guess, so the giants wouldn't keep killing people.
Right.
That giant in Kandahar story was one of the most interesting things that I've ever heard, because, if you're Christian, about the Bible, and it talks about the fact that the Nephilim, the giants were here before the flood and then after that, but the flood was supposed to wipe them out. And then there's this big question. Anthony Sanchez, I'm gonna mention something that you brought up, and I was just writing that down. Something you brought up a few minutes ago. I'm going to bring that up in a few minutes, but I wanted to say really quick, I'm going to write that down so I don't forget. But the Grand Canyon or whatever, but what was it? The Kandahar giant was what I was talking about. The Kandahar giant, I thought that was very interesting. The fact that they found a 12-foot tall giant over there in Kandahar, Afghanistan, and it had taken out a whole team of military soldiers or whatever, and that team got lost, and so they never came back. They never reported back. So a whole nother team of soldiers were sent out to go and find that team of soldiers that had disappeared. When they got over there, they got to the caves, they found the equipment, and they found different things that belonged to those soldiers. And when they got there, they saw bones and all that kind of stuff outside of the cave. Then all of a sudden, a spear comes flying, this huge spear, a huge pike comes flying out of that cave, and it basically impales one of those soldiers. The next thing they see is a 12-foot tall giant coming out of that cave. That 12-foot tall giant, they're not expecting it. Now, basically, they were hitting it with several shots, but that didn't take it out. And then one of the soldiers yelled out, "Shoot it in the head, shoot it in the head." And when they shot it in the head, and it finally died, they said that the giant had double rows of teeth, 6 fingers, 6 toes. And this is one of those stories that's been documented. The other soldiers who we've heard throughout the years, or people that I've seen in my YouTube comments and on social media and all that kind of stuff, talking about the fact that, when they're over there in Afghanistan, there's a lot of weird things that happen over there. And they know about the giants over there. And under the river Euphrates, what's going on below that, which is really weird, supposed to be fallen angels, all kind of weird sounds, voices, screams, howls, and all that kind of stuff going on underneath it. But that giant, once they killed it, they had to fly in a special helicopter to come in and pick up the body of that giant. That giant not only had double rows of teeth, it had 6 fingers, it had 6 toes. They said that this thing smelled worse than you can possibly imagine, worse than death. It was over 1,200 pounds. They had to fly it out to an undisclosed location. When L.A. Marzulli comes on the show, we're going to be discussing that. We're going to be discussing the Nephilim, UFOs. He's not one that does long interviews, so I'm thinking probably we'll get him for like 45 minutes to an hour at the most, but I'm just really honored and excited about the fact that he's even going to come on. But real quick, I wanted to say before I forget, Anthony Sanchez had mentioned about the fact that the Smithsonian hid Egyptian pyramids in the Grand Canyon. And they have a no-fly zone there as well. You're not supposed to fly over that area. There's only certain areas of the Grand Canyon that you can actually go to and visit.
Yeah.
Did you know that, Michael?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. I know the findings there. I know that the Smithsonian got involved with it, and I know shortly after that happened, of the discovery of that cave channel, that of course, like everything that happens in the United States, the government takes it over. They may have actually already found the lost Dutchman mine too. There's so many things that we will never know. We know that when it comes to gold, silver, riches, and information, they're the leaders of the pack. They always come first. And if you go over into the east, and you go into the museums, look on the wall, see who owns them. Look on the wall, see who owns them. And here, the rights to the pyramid. NASA owns them.
And people who?
They own the rights to the inside. Yes. NASA's everywhere too. NASA's in places in countries NASA's in places in countries that don't even make sense, but they're there. And it's, to me, it's a lot of the archaeological discovery things and divisions of them, because products go to certain places and to certain foundations, and they do the discharging of it and the important factors they hold behind, and the other channels like below the Vatican and things like that we theorize. And I do believe that there's a lot of fact to that one, without a doubt, especially when you look into the fact that they owned at one time one of the world's most strongest telescope looking into the stars. What was that all about? Think about it. They're everywhere doing everything, and they all are planted together. It's just it's a coup of a deeper, darker entity of people who have an agenda that benefits for them only.
I mean, your chat tonight, this is amazing. Like, I don't know if the chat is usually like this, but they got a lot of good comments and questions and stuff like that in here, and I find that it's really interesting. Anthony Sanchez was just mentioned the fact about the red-haired giant. The red-haired giants, what was that? Lovelock Cave, and I can't remember if that was in Nevada or was that in
Ron
Mexico.
Moorhead went there. Yeah, Lovelock.
He did? Where is
Ron
that?
Moorhead. Oh,
I know,
gosh,
but is that in
someone
I think
Google
that's
it.
Nevada. I'll look it up. And then
usually I have an answer for everything, but I don't tonight on that. Usually I have an answer for everything. I don't on that one tonight, but I know Ron went there. He mentioned it. I've done 3 interviews at Ron. Fantastic guy. Doesn't need to do this. Look, a lot of people don't know this, and I'm not trying to say anything in a derogatory way. This is all positivity. He's doing us, and has always done us, a favor. He could have lived a life differently. He had that opportunity and choice, because he was very intelligent and smart to get to that point. But he chose to give us enlightenment, information, the Sierra sounds, the information. He's brought so much to the table. I praise it. I mean, really, he's a rock star. He's a rock star. But we have many. I put them on my pages. I put everybody's books out there that I can. Once I have them on the show, I try to get an approval. Is it okay because I feel like, it's what I need to do. It's how I want to, thank them for what they did for me,
And yep, I agree with you 100%. Now, Al is not in Texas. I just looked it up while we were talking. It's actually in Nevada. But a lot of people also don't realize that there's more pyramids here in the United States or in the Americas than there are in Egypt. Now, here's one thing I found out. Glenn Beck, if y'all remember him, he used to be a reporter or whatever, a journalist for CNN several years ago. And he came out on a video and he brought out the fact that there were ancient Egyptian, Aramaic, and ancient Hebrew writings, hieroglyphs, and tablets and stuff like that found here in the United States. And I can't remember if it was in Ohio, on Native American burial grounds. So does that mean that they were speaking those languages? Does that mean that these people from these areas were coming over here from Egypt? And were they coming here thousands of years ago, way before we even knew what does that mean?
Well, it means everything you've been taught's been a lie by Christopher Columbus and more. And one of the things that Christopher Columbus was doing, I mean, there's been some theorizing around some of the people who were voyaging on the waters, the maritime or pirateers, that they were actually using Templar crosses to come in because they knew that the Templars had a presence here. The Vikings had a presence here. I mean, if you go to Oak Island and see some of the discoveries made there, Roman coins from 2,000 years ago, 1,500 to 2,000 years ago have been found on that island. Well, maybe it's a wealth of treasures that came in that somehow, things broke open, whatever. I mean, we can always look at the possibility of things like that exist. But, then you look at Stonehenge and you look at like Dennis Stone and what he has in New Hampshire and what he's discovered on his property and what's going on up there, that we have these builders, these ancient builders, but who were they? And it's just an exciting amount of information and topic. And I wish more people got involved to it because it would open their eyes. And one of the things that the government's trying to do now in Canada is create bylaws of mineral rights and all these things. So we can no longer, like before you dig, call. So they can come out and decide whether you have the right of opportunity to do anything under the new bylaws. And they're doing it in the United States as well, because they don't want us to have mineral rights. They don't want us to have water rights. And if you even have a well, they want to put a meter on the well because you're taking it out because they have full ownership of it, because they are above the indigenous. And if you think about this, a lot of people think, well, the Indians were the first here. Maybe not so. Maybe it was a culture of people who got together, mixed bloods, and became an indigenous population of Indian blood and ancestry. And that's the way I'm looking at it, between the land bridges and everything that had happened with the tectonic plates. And that's something else I want to bring up about the tectonic plates. With this coming through on April 8th, and we don't know what to really truly expect, except the fact that they're preparing for something. And if something like that was to happen, we might get into another great flood. And that's a possibility too. Because if we get a magnetic pull and the tectonic plates come up like they once did before, then the waters would rise and it would infiltrate all the, inner platforms of the United States as well. So that's another point of subject that, just thought I'd throw it out there as a possibility. Doesn't mean it's factual.
It's all kind of natural disasters and stuff like that. Some say that the world was taken out, or the dinosaurs were taken out by like a huge asteroid that took them all out. The others say, the Bible says, and others say it was a flood. But what we do know, that there's been a reset. Some say more than one time, more than twice. Is this just history repeating itself? Is this a cycle? 7 times?
Yeah, well, that's what I understand as far as what I feel is pertinent proof of matter, of what I believe the best in the world talk about now, presently. And yeah, how else would everything get buried? I mean, if you think about it, the whole world changed. I mean, could it have been the pole shift, the tilts, the tips? I mean, once upon a time in the northeast of the United States and the North Americas, they found palm trees in between rocks, where there were palm leaves and different things. So that actually says they either traveled thousands of miles through water to get here, but how far they were buried on, it seems more likely that was part of the vegetation here. Same as when we talk about Antarctica and we talk about Perry Reese. And then we had another, I'm trying to think of his name. Hold on. It's not in my head right now. But there were 2 maps. And when you look at that, you ask yourself, how did they get the landmass so perfect when it was covered with ice? So probability is that it moved into that place somehow by some matter of bigger than what we would understand. And maybe a meteor hitting, maybe some eruption that we wouldn't understand that a volcano can do with pushing up, where it affected the plates. The plates moved everything. Land masses pulled apart and floated and separated and settled, resettled. It's a lot of opportunity of thought, and that's good to be. That excites me. That's the part of the fun part of shows, you know.
Yeah, it is, and it's very interesting. Now, who was that? Tom. Okay, Tom Schaffner. Tom just said earthquake. So, Tom, you said you're on the New Madrid fault line. I am too. I'm in Alabama. I just had to look it up because I'm like, I know we have a fault line here, and I know that there, California and stuff like that is one of those places that you hear about, earthquakes and stuff like that all the time. But from what I heard, like what is that? The San Andreas in California. But like the one we have here in New Madrid fault line, they said that if we ever get hit real bad, like if we get a major earthquake, they say that it would actually be worse than what they get in California. And I'm hoping that's not the fact. I'm just glad I don't live near the coastlines, because I've heard stories for years going all the way back to 2011, 2012, where people were coming out and saying that there was going to be a major, I don't know if they were saying it was going to be an asteroid, but some type of major catastrophe was supposed to happen. And when that does happen, then there's going to be major tsunamis and stuff like that. It was going to come several hundred miles inland
Yeah,
into the coast in Alabama, and all the coastal. You heard of that too back then? All the
yeah.
coastal cities are going to be wiped out. Like I'm at the top of Alabama, but it's just a terror. It's scary to me. But there were certain areas that they said you can go to be safe, but I'm not so sure.
Well, you know
To be
what?
honest with you, I don't. Go ahead.
All right, I was just going to say simply, there was a point in time about 25 years ago, when people were getting ready to retire, maybe 25 to 25 years ago. They were being directed and advised through military, inside information between themselves on where not to move, and about what would the word be? Topography, or
Yeah.
geological changes that they anticipated to happen in the United States. So that was also suggested to people, and people were moving to certain areas. And they've always said, in a way, no matter what, stay back from the intercoastals and stay back from the ocean fronts.
Hmm.
Although, we see people putting up $1 million homes in politics, and it doesn't seem to bother them to do it. But at one point, that type of subject matter was being discussed within a loop of people, and I was actually I was able to get some of that information. What does it mean? I don't know, but to me, I'm seeing something like the Oak Island thing, the theory of coming down the middle of the United States and from the Great Lakes, and there will be some type of something within that district of area, because that was the area that was said to try to keep yourself from. And that's why when you see where the blue cities are coming up, the 15-minute cities, the blue states, that those are the ones in places that you'll be the safest, because according to them, that's the area of the investments. That's where all the major investments are going under the 666 Build Back Better. If you just replace the B with the 6 and put it under Build Back Better 666, that's what that stands for.
Really?
Yeah, that's my theory.
Again, New World Order, Illuminati, secret societies, go all of that. And so, like, I hope this show don't get taken down, because we didn't share a lot of stuff tonight, and there's so many different places I can go. There's a lot of different things. One thing I
When
want
I
to
do
mention
America in
too.
Crisis, it's bigger than this.
Well,
America in
I
Crisis,
want to come back to that. I'm just saying,
America
like,
in
it's so
Crisis
many
is
different
like
things.
vandals.
I mean, I want to be on that. I mean, maybe I shouldn't, because I'm really right now, when you do shows like this, what you're doing, it's important. And then you get basically watched by Facebook. And don't sit up here, y'all, and think, for those of you and I've been in Facebook jail before once. I don't want to get in Facebook jail again, but it's not that important. But I will say this. Understand that when you get put in Facebook jail or your account gets hacked by some hacker and stuff like that, and you report it to Facebook, hey, Ernie, you report it to Facebook. And when you report it to Facebook and Facebook doesn't do anything about it, even though you can prove that you are the real person and somebody else is taking over your account, don't think that it's always some hacker. Sometimes that is Facebook doing that. They are shutting you down for whatever reason, whether you are, whether you're a crypto researcher, because if that's the case, somebody hacking an account, they have everybody's IP address. So they know what the original IP address is, and they know where you live at. So they know when it's a fake account or not. If they wanted to shut it down, they could, but they don't, because they shut you down. I could be a conspiracy theorist on it, but I'm standing on that.
No, I think you're absolutely correct. And they come at us at all angles. They truly do. They set us up. And that's why sometimes I do also a show platform. When I really want to go secretively, I call it the new news for entertainment purposes only. Hopefully, because titles throw them off. And if I keep certain things out of the title, the minute I put America in Crisis on, it doesn't go into the groups. We can share it into them, but it doesn't show up till the next day. And when it does, it goes 50 feeds down. So not everything. So I decided it was time for me to do more of the platform of some of my guests who were coming in under America Disclosing and opening up what's in the skies, because, I do a lot of it. I love the paranormal. I love the unknown. I love getting into the history of the unknown and learning it all, and, giving people the information that I can, because it's immense. It's immense. And I want to be bigger than their shit show, not bigger than. See, my thing is really not always about the quality of how many views, because I'm not in this for money. People that are looking for viewerships, there's a monetary system in place. I get that. And I want everybody to get what they deserve to have. I run from it. When it gets to be a point of, oh God, this is going to turn into that, I go to another platform and start over. And I do that because I don't want that part of the system. I want to be me, and I want the message to be powerful.
Absolutely. Now, I wanted to ask you real quick. There was that issue that happened, I guess maybe it might have been a month or a couple of months ago, in Miami, where they had the aliens that supposedly had basically landed at that mall and all those people. Do you feel like that was a hoax?
No, they were supposed to go to the Antarctic. They screwed up.
Can you elaborate on that?
I can't. That's what I was told. That's all I know. I mean, truthfully, I heard that it was a miscalculation of something that occurred. Now, I don't even know if they were there. I can't prove none of that. But I was listening to somebody who I know and trust, and they said, according to what they understood, and I didn't talk about it until you just answered that question. I asked me that question. I apologize for that. And that's what they said, that there was something that went wrong. Now, that's not the first time I've heard that. That's truly not the first time I've heard of a miscoordinates. One of them was actually when we talk about Planet Serpo and the exchange we did between their people and 12 of our soldiers going with them for 13 years, which was supposed to be a 10-year mission on their planet, trillions of miles away. And we were going to trade technologies. We're going to learn about their planet. And I know you're smiling there in a way like, oh my God, Michael, what do you? No, I'm telling you, this ain't from a comic.
They're laughing at you. No, they were laughing at you in the comments, and I'm laughing at Al over there. They can. And I suggest that they do their research and they'll find out about it. No, they like what you're saying. They're interested. They love it.
To tell you the truth, I blew up the dashboards on UPRN radio when I was doing my narrative stories on this, but I want to say this. When I say anonymous to somebody, it's not a fictional character of what's going on in the 2020s like Q and 17. Anonymous was a factual MJ12 representative who cared for the red box. And also, if Anthony's still on here, he can correct me if I'm wrong, because I know he knows his way down the highway, MI6. So he was, am I right on that? Anyway, if he's there, hey, that's Robert. So anyway, no, it's a true factual story. And content of some of it was put in, I think, to the movie Contact, where we gave like tonnages of stuff and sent these people off and to a different place, and we were learning about them. They were learning about us. They brought back a catalog of pictures and films and technologies, and we're still in touch with them today, from what I understand. And it turned out because Roswell had, and in some cases, this is speculation by everybody. Some people talk about 7 crafts that went down over a period of years. Some talk about Roswell, where 2 crafts bumped into each other, one 70 miles from the other, and one did, EBE did live, EB1 lived, and he taught them, and they taught him our language to a point where we made a connection of how to work the radio and the parts of the craft that were still existed and able to use that would power up. And once they were able to figure out how to do that, which took almost to the point where he died in, I think, 1952, because he lived 5 years, we were able to send 8 messages to his home planet and make an agreement for them to come here. Kennedy knew about it. Kennedy signed off on it, gave his full authorization to it. Kennedy died. A new president came in. He thought it was a joke, but he allowed for it to happen in the next sector. And then this did take place, and it did happen. But the first time they came, they also got the GPS coordinates where we got GPS from wrong. So, I mean, you know, these things, and there are things out there in greater magnitude. If you look into Bob Lazar, John Lear, Roger Lear taking transplants out. I mean, you know, John talked about 40 planets around us, you know, that they're not talking about. He's brought a lot of things to attention. Were they all factual and true? I don't know. But, you know, I think he was a man that was pretty intelligent. You know, I mean, he was sophisticated when it came to aerospace and craft and flying them and doing things with these machines that no one else could do. Ran for state senator. He put himself in a great place. He met Bob Lazar. They disclosed things and Element 115. And look, I mean, Bob wasn't wrong, was he?
No, I mean, and it's so much. And real quick, I think Anthony answered your question, what you were asking a few minutes ago. I think he said, I don't know if it's MI16 or M16 Secret Intelligence Service, UK.
MI6, I believe it was. It was a secondary format put in place under the Kennedy administration, and they were also one representative, actually, from what I understand, was also involved within 12. So that scenario exists. Again, you know, I have all these notes. I can go right behind me and pull out 2 boxes of tablets on everything I've ever researched. But before talking at depth, I would like to review what my findings were, you know, to the best that I can. Oh, there's a lot.
They got a lot of interesting things. Yeah, like it was said that the coordinates to Antarctica backwards equals the Miami Mall. It was believed they either were given the wrong coordinates or they put them in backwards. I don't believe in aliens. I believe in fallen angels and demonic beings. They may be smarter than us, but they aren't that smart if they followed Lucifer. I'm a Christian too, and I agree with you on that, Lynette. But you know, people get pissed off when you say stuff like that because
you gotta watch out for religion. Yeah, I know. Hey, you know, I'm going to blow some religion out of the park right now, though, because there's some other controversial things here you and I never talked about. So this is between you and I as 2 human beings conversating right now, B. All right, so check this out. You know, we're seeing movies about everything, and there's names for spaceships and all these different things. Well, when they speak of the Ark, okay, and of course you're going to think angels, okay, speculative. True fact. Man wrote the book, so who knows? But faith, that's where faith comes in. Faith is believing in something that you have no proof over. So in some cases, in some informations, and someone you may or may not know thinks that these actually could have been Ark crafts, meaning they were a fleet of crafts. And they were the crafts, the supreme beings of the crafts, the higher of the technology, where somebody will just think that they're wing-like beings, angelic. And maybe they were the ones flying them. And that's all I'm going to say to that matter. Just to put subject matter out there of a possibility of theory, because I'm thinking what we're talking about in many of these ways, intelligence is who come here in crafts. This all takes place. You have the light beings versus the dark beings, and the good against the bad, and the fallens against the ark. Well, what if the arcs were actually crafts, and that was we're just misinterpreting it.
And I've watched Ancient Aliens, and Ancient Aliens, they're kind of biased, and they're probably non-Christian, which is fine. Like, I'm a person that, even though I'm Christian, I can still listen to different things, different religions, different other beliefs
Right.
that are outside of Christianity. I'm open-minded enough to say, and I'm not just saying this to you, Mike. I'm saying this like to the chat too, because I want people to understand, like, not saying I'm going to always agree. I'm able to still be friends with somebody and disagree. I saw that Joe Fox in the comments told Lynette, he said, religion has clouded your thoughts. Here's the thing on it. Like, so for the people who are non-religious, who don't have too much, you may be of a more scientific or secular mind, and that's fine. Like, I'm a person, I would never push my beliefs on everybody. Everybody has a right to their opinion or their beliefs on different things. And my beliefs on stuff doesn't have to make you believe it. I'm not going to try to push a narrative or anything like that. But I'm just saying what makes sense for me from things I've seen, things that I've experienced, not just with cryptids, not just with Dogman, but one thing that I don't even want to talk about right now, because I feel like if I say it out loud, it's going to conjure some stuff up that I don't want to be up in here tonight, but I'll say it. Like Shadow Man showing up in here twice last year. Sleep paralysis, being, choked and your sleep at night is not hallucinations. It's so many different things. So on that reality, all I'm saying is that there's several different times during my lifetime, my lifetime, the things that I've dealt with, having actually seen demons in real time, in real life. Like, so I'm not just somebody who's on here and say, okay, these are things that's just only in the Bible. Like, I'm telling you what I know. I'm telling you what I've seen. I'm telling you my experience in my life and what I've seen. Um, Joe, like, that's fine. Like, I respect it. You said religion is human dogma. I respect that. And everybody has a right to it. My thing is let everybody be happy believing and doing whatever you do. I would never attack you for that at all,
Yeah.
because you have a right to that.
And you're absolutely right, because at the end game here for all of us in a lot of ways is to get to the conclusion, the answer. And it doesn't matter what side of the road you're on, what your belief system is, as long as we work together to figure it out and respect each other while doing it. Like I've always said, I broke bread with a lot of people in my life. I was told by the government to hate China, to hate Russia, to hate Yugoslavia,
Mhm.
because that's what I was bred to understand in my life. But yet when I sat with these
Absolutely.
people, when I got old enough to sit and work side by side with these people, Hispanics legal in the United States working, and we broke bread together, they were my friends. They were nothing like what the government
Mhm.
described to me. So that's why I say it's the old man that's the Churchill, and the Papa Bushes and Cheneys and people of that era of thought, and that implant these things and made sure that these narratives would come to us. So we all hated each other and despised religions and so forth. So wherever you're at now, because of what you learned and how to feel, I have nothing but respect for everybody. But remember, everything
Mhm.
that we do, that we enjoy together, that we love to talk about, whether it's cryptids, whether it's UFOs, whether it's the fact that the possibility of April 8th being an extinction level event, whatever, is that we are there for each other before, that we're there for each other after, and we will take care of each other as human beings, and we don't need our government to help us to do it.
Oh, that was beautiful, Michael. That was oh my God, that was almost making me ready to cry. That was a beautiful. I know that wasn't just a speech, but that was awesome. And if we all came together, no matter what our beliefs is, whether it is about cryptids, whether it's about like race, whether it's about anything that you feel, anything our government, like our everything's changing. There's things that the government or Congress is passing that we as a collective should all come together and like say no, like we don't stand for that. We've got to take control over things nowadays. We don't always have to agree, but we need to come together as a people, black, white, Hispanic, no matter what. We all need to come together as a people, because in the end, what's going to happen if they one day decide to like take us into all these different, my phone is about to die, take us into these different concentration camps, because those are here right now. Y'all hold on, I'm still here, but I'm gonna be off camera for a second. But if they take us into these internment camps, at one point back in 2012, and like I said, there was a lot of so-called conspiracy stuff going on at that time. But during that time when all this stuff was going on, there was a time period when they were saying that there was a list for your name to show up, whether it was on the red, blue, yellow, whatever. They were putting like painted signs on the outside. There's so much stuff, so many things that have not actually happened as of yet, to the point where it's like, is this stuff really going to happen? But there's been so many things that's been taken out of the Bible and religious books that's been covered up and hidden from us that we don't know what to believe. We don't know what's true and what's true and what's not true. There's over 66 books taken out of the Bible. And then if you go in, if you're a Christian or non-Christian, the original writing was the Torah, the Tanakh, the Pentateuch, the Septuagint, all of that. And if you go and read some of those books and then you actually read what the actual words say, it's a little bit different than what's in the Bible today. And so a lot of things are taken out of context. I do understand I am a Christian, but I'm still open-minded too. And I want y'all to understand I'm open-minded enough to the point that I can say, yeah, I'm a Christian. But at the same time, there are things in there that are, some scriptures contradict other scriptures. And it gets confusing at times. So what do you do with that?
Yeah, well,
go ahead,
you rely on the scholars. A lot of times we got to rely on the professors, the scholars and professors, and the people that study it every day, and they don't look into the subject matter like we do, that it's so extreme from one end of the board to the other. And although I have read many things and I do understand them, and just as you said, as you think you understand one, you have to jump to another book to find out the meaning in another. And I think that was the whole thing. That was part of a device to keep us jumping between everything. And, I believe in creation. I believe in everything that, for all the reasons that I breathe, my heart pumps, and that I walk, have family, and experience life. But at the same time, I'm trying to put myself aside from the people who were put in place, the storytellers, as I call them, that created much of the books, because most books were written after all the men died. It was handed down information of information. I'm not saying that a lot of it wasn't factually good. Some of it proves itself to be authentic in many, many ways. But again, as you said, when they remove so much of the content from us, it's because they want to hide the story and the true meaning of what everything has been, that we want to understand more of. Mm-hmm. And that will only keep us lost for a longer point of time. Here's what they do to put it in plain English. When you get, and I don't want to use this content anymore after this, because it's come up a lot. But when you have a pharmaceutical company who has an oversight committee that oversights the pharmaceutical company, and the owners of the pharmaceutical company sit on the oversight committee, what does that tell you? The oversight committee controls their own regulations of their own company, which means you're not going to ever be able to do anything because of it. And that's how the whole system narration works. It's the same as if you're an archaeologist and you work in a certain platform, and you find something and they tell you you can't talk about it. And then you ask them about it and say, well, that doesn't make sense. It just couldn't happen that way. That's the answers we get. Why? Because they cut the paychecks, and they're the ones who fund the grants to keep them archaeological expeditions going. And so when you get natural people, real people out there who don't look into that well and don't pull from it, then you get real stories. And there are people out there with that knowledge. It's just we need to find more of them to figure it out and to go forward with the information that they provide for us.
And Michael, give me just a second. I'm just checking my blood sugar. I was telling Nellie, checking my blood sugar. I'm coming back on camera with y'all in just a minute. My blood sugar is kind of high, so I'm just trying to check my monitor real quick. But I am listening. I'm just off camera doing that for a second. But
Don't worry about it, man.
my
You took
my
a
vision
break.
has
It's the
started to
cause
get.
for the cause. I get it totally. I get it totally. Don't worry about it.
But
It's
I
fine.
want you to keep talking because sometimes people feel some type of way when you get off camera. I'm still here, y'all. I'm just checking my blood sugar and all that good stuff. My vision got blurry. I felt like I was gonna pass out for a second,
Oh, really?
but
I'm
I'll be all right.
sorry. Well, we're getting up close
No,
to
you're
2
okay.
hours.
No,
No. I'm just saying it's been quite an episode of a lot of energy, a lot of emotions, a lot of informative information, and you've been a rock star. B, I'm telling you, I've always told you, I've always supported you, and I'm not bringing up any nonsense because I'm not going to do that. I always told you, even when on days that you were down, that you don't look at it upon as being down. You look at it upon as being that. You let that be your strength. And look what you were able to establish. After. I remember when you had like 30 people going on YouTube, and now you have what, like 10,000 people rock starring you. And I'm the guy that's down.
yeah,
But I chose that platform of format. I don't want that. I want it for the people that I helped to get to that point, whether it was off camera, phone calls, in a shower. Didn't matter. When they needed me, I tried
we
to be there for them.
absolutely.
And that's what's important to
Well,
me. That's how I reflect.
and y'all, I don't be doing right by my blood sugar. Like right now, I swear to God, y'all, I have not had breakfast, lunch, or dinner today. I'm on Adderall too, so like I don't have an appetite most of the time. But now, since this has happened, like I'm still trying to get used to all this stuff. So right now, I've got to get off. I don't want to get off because I'm really enjoying this. This is like I'm really having a great time with y'all. I don't want to go, but I feel like I'm getting ready to pass out. So I'm gonna get off here because I've got to eat something. My head is hurting.
All
So I'm
right, don't
gonna
worry about it.
go.
You do that. It's been a pleasure
Michael, let's
having
do
you.
this
Today.
again.
Thanks for being part of What's in the Skies. And you're going to be back, right?
Yes, I am. I really enjoyed this. This was amazing. I had so much fun with y'all tonight. I don't know, like I feel
Cool.
like I'm getting ready to pass out. Like I feel like I'm looking at you right now and I see too, like it's blurry and my head
Hey,
hurts.
it could be one of those double pupil giants.
Right? Y'all, thank y'all so much. Y'all were awesome. I love your crowd tonight. This is awesome. And y'all had some good stuff to talk about. This is amazing. And I will be back. Hopefully, Michael had me back on here.
Oh,
And
yeah.
blessings to you, Joe Fox. I like you. Uh, Joe Fox was like the devil's advocate in there tonight. I like that. Joe,
Joe's a
you were
great
kind of
person.
spicy there. I like that. I love it.
Yeah, he,
Joe, Tom had a lot to say. All of y'all out there from Tennessee, East Tennessee, David Navarre, great. Thank you, David. I love y'all so much. I'm so hungry right now. Anytime I feel like this, y'all know what I want. Taco Bell. Mm,
it's
Taco Bell calling my
okay.
name. I love y'all. Good night, y'all. Love you guys. I'll
All
be
right. Good
back if
night,
Michael
Beck.
will have me.
All right. Good night, sweetheart.
Good
Take
night.
care. All right. Hey, what a great
Okay.
episode. What a great episode. And Anthony Sanchez popping in, UFO Highway. Got to get his books. Look him up. I'm not joking. He also has a podcast on, and I want you guys to look into that. I mean, there's so many out there. Look, I get it. But I try to influence people to the direction of the people who have been the arounds, the ones that have been in the era of everything. So we came on talking about some strong subject matter about what I call the apocalyptical eclipse, and I do want you guys to be prepared. And if some people may kneel down, some people may choose to look up. They're saying you can go blind. I just make sure you have on some type of safety goggles. I hope everybody's going to get to see what they want to see. I know there's many theories and thoughts behind everything. And as I said earlier, if Plato or Nostradamus could think of a way to explain some of this for us, I would have gladly sent them a link and had them on tonight. Maybe they'll come to me in a dream. Weird things happen in my dreams. I talk about that a lot. But, it's fascinating when we have shows like this. And, B really came out strong. I applaud her. I really do. Taking us all over the place, which I think turned into something a little different, but, perfectly fine. I was happy to do it. I really was. So these possibilities, batteries and the Devil's Comet, also known as Halley's Comet, possibly coming in with this. Look up some of that information and look up the information on how those nasty trail of falling debris can actually affect in our atmosphere and what they can do, and if any subject matter from this within that in this occurrence that we can get particles of meteors and things like that. And maybe that's part of the big concern. So if you want to look up any information from 1954 on its last trip through I think it was 71 years ago. Again, we talked a little bit about the Georgia Guidestones because maybe we just theoretically needed to have them in place for things that happen like this now that we're going through and what we're understanding or trying to understand of why governors are signing executive orders and bringing in the National Guard systems and et cetera, schools closing. I mean, they may tell you that you're not allowed to drive that day. I don't, what's next? No fly zones. That's another thing we brought up and talked about tonight. So fill your tank, get gas tanks. Maybe it's a good thing to do. Buy food, water, candles, batteries, etc. Just like we had a few comments that came in from this all too. Nellie Turner, hey, thanks for coming in. You just missed B. Oh, you were in here. Good night. Hey, good night, Nellie. So going over all those stuff, the bunkers, these are items of landmark substance I am regurgitating for everybody right now because I think throughout everything that we did talk about and the warnings and some of the other discussions, it theorizes something of an event, of a disruption, of something coming, and it pays to be safer than sorry. Of course, we know that. Power grids going out, losing self-service, it could be possible. Planet X, Nebrew, I don't think it's likely. I think the amateurs would have been out there releasing a lot of videos. Are we in the 3 days of darkness? Is this the time of the 6666? I don't know. Will they fire CERN up? Will they turn the power? Will we lose Wi-Fi? Will this be the end times of what they call the plagues and the bugs? And what was it? A couple of years ago, cicadas and locusts. Are we on a path of a biblical matter? It could, I guess, all be possible. So with that said, I'll leave those types of things up to you. I know we talked about other things and other reasons that we suspect that they would not tell us something if it was important, especially after what they did to us in 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, and now in 2023 and 2024. It's just, a matter of how I say it, and I'm not the first one, but I do add the last word where they don't. Wash, rinse, repeat, and regurgitate. The bobbleheads, the syndromes. So should we fear the sun? I don't know. I don't think so. I wish they could spray in the sky so we could have some natural days on our planet. Of course, who doesn't want those? But that said, it's a lot to think about. It's just a lot to think about, And I'll be back. I have some upcoming guests, fabulous guests. I got some pictures posted of, of a gentleman up in Canada who's going to be coming on with me, and he'll give us some detailed information. So if you see anything floating around of a guest with some pictures, check these out. They are so interesting. And he's a contactee, and he's been abducted, and he's been allowed at times to take pictures or asked to take pictures, and he does, and they're in them. So that's the best I can say. I'm really looking forward to it. Outside of that, I hope you all have a great night, and I appreciate everybody for being in tonight. Thank you so much for all the support, man. You guys are rock stars. If you can like and share, I don't do this for monetary value, but I would like to see it help. If it can help, B. Moss for being on tonight and to get the messages out there the best we can. It's going to be a lot of hypothetical stuff, a lot of theory stuff. There's going to be a lot of shows coming on. A lot of people are, as we get closer to the event of this big day, this apocalyptic event. I call it apocalyptic. If you say that 3 times fast, it's hard enough for me to say it once slow. Apocalyptic. But nevertheless, I think that's like a devastation. Maybe I shouldn't have used those terms tonight, but it's like we see safety precautions going in place. So I don't know. We'll just leave it the way it is. So help me out, like and share, get into your favorite groups. We covered political. We covered paranormal. We covered ufology, theology. I mean, we brought up the Kandahar giant. And don't forget, B does have a show coming up. Al Marzoli will be on with her. That's going to be a rock star event. Make sure everybody checks in to watch that for her. Give her some support. It was really cool to hear that she landed him to come in. Anyway, have a great night, everybody. Love you to death. This is America Disclosing. What's in Disguise? I am Michael Anthony, supporter of Loaded Gun Coffee. Get loaded, stay loaded. LoadedGunCoffee.com. It's all I drink at home and in the studio, and sometimes both places at the same time. And I'll just say it to you like that. Thank you so much, so much, so much, so much. Have a great night.